Welcome back to Inspector Toolbelt, everyone. So I'm excited today. We have on for the third time on our show, Christian Adams. How are you, Christian?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you here, and you're wearing your Keystone by iGo shirt. So nice to see that.
I was trying to slip that in under the radar, actually. We picked up on that pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, no, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, hey, that's cool. Nice.
yeah,
It's a nice shirt, anyways. So I'm all
yeah,
about a good t shirt. So, but I'm also excited today to have you on because there's a little bit of a program that you let us in on and told us about. And I just found out before we started this episode here that this is the first time you guys are actually talking about it in public. So this is kind of like a big announcement thing here for you.
yeah. Like, this is a forum and an outlet, and you and I get to talk properly and be honest, right? And I wanted people to hear about this program to them to understand it properly, rather than having like a marketing piece that they might read or a flyer or something. I also know that you're going to be brutally honest, right, and open
Yeah.
about it too, and ask me the questions that maybe the inspectors want to ask as well. So that's why we chose this forum.
Well, and again, I feel privileged. And I even warned you before the show. I said, I'm going to ask you some questions that home inspectors are going to want to know about this program. Because we always hear about, okay, here's a new program, and this is going to change the industry, and this is going to make you $1 million. So this actually is a new program, hasn't been done before to my knowledge, and I'd like to test it out and kick the tires and maybe ask some questions that other home inspectors have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's dig right into it. So it's basically what you're talking about is a Curbio partnership. So can you tell us what this means, nuts and bolts, for the average home inspector?
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll start with like who is Curbio, right? They haven't really worked in the inspection space before. They've been very agent focused. So Curbio came to market about 6, 7 years ago as a simple way for a seller, okay, and a listing agent when they've got a house that needs some work, right? But maybe they don't have the cash on hand to complete that work, to get that work done, right? Repairs, renovations, and things for the home, but without having any cost out of pocket. So the traditional Curbio model is you inherit Aunt Susie's house. It's got beautiful brown carpet from 1967, right? The roof needs redoing, and maybe the AC needs kind of replacing. They will come in. They will do a very professional job as like a GC, manage the project, make everything gets done to a very high standard, complete the work, but nobody pays until closing. So for an agent, if they've got like a listing or potential listing that's got like fleas on it, and they know that it's going to be problems during the inspection potentially, or problem even selling the home because once somebody sees it, it's just in a bad state of repair. They can fix that problem for their seller. And obviously for an agent, they're like, hold on, I could sell this house as it is now for 400,000, but if we get it renovated, I could sell it for 500,000. That's an extra 3 grand in the agent's pocket, and they can sell the home faster and hopefully not have that contract fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was Curbio's initial model they came out with. It's very popular. Like I said, they do a very high quality of work. They warranty the work for the buyer, so they know that the work that's been done can be transferred to the new buyer. But what they're not doing is any kind of standardized pre-listing inspection. So there is an inspector involved with Curbio typically where they need someone to go out and find out what's going on with that home. What are the issues here? And Curbio about 2 years ago selected Repair Pricer as the platform and the service that essentially would take those inspection reports, create standardized data and estimates for them. So the Curbio team can go back and say, all right, this is what we're bidding to get this work done. This is what we think it's going to cost. And also, most importantly, here's the ROI we think you're going to get out of this work. Because obviously, there's no point the seller fixing stuff if it's not really going to put more money in their pocket at the end of the day. So we've been working with Curbio on that for a couple of years now, and basically been their estimation arm. But what we see is, and you see this across the industry as a whole, huge variation in the quality of the inspection reports that come through. What we wanted to build was basically a standardized version for Curbio, so they know that every time an inspector goes out, they get the exact information they need on that home to come in and basically bid and do the work. But where we took it a step further, and this is what I'm super excited about, is with this, Curbio is saying, you know what, the inspectors in your network are fantastic. We get a really good product from you. We want to go one level up. They are covering the cost of the inspection for the seller and the seller's agent at this point. So that now our partner inspection companies can actually go out and say to their top listing agents, hey, when you come and get a Curbio pre-market valuation through me, it's free. And just to clarify, Curbio still pays the inspector. They pay them that fee. They pay them up front as well. It's not like they're waiting to get paid at closing. Curbio fronts all of that money. So it's basically this new tool that an inspector can have in their tool belt, if you'll excuse the pun, to basically bring out and go and win more business from agents and sellers. That's dramatically different, because we have found the two objections to pre-listing inspections historically have been, I don't want to pay for the inspection up front, right? Why should I be paying for that? And secondly, everything that's found during that inspection, people often can't afford to fix it and pay out of pocket. And we think with this product and this service, we are basically removing those two objections to help inspectors grow this side of their business.
Okay, so a little bit of information on box there. So let me kind of distill this down in my own mind. So Curbio is going to pay a home inspector to go out, do a pre-listing inspection, submit the information, and then that's it. The seller kind of goes and does their repairs and deals with Curbio on their own. But ultimately, we're just getting paid to do pre-listing inspections for Curbio. Is that correct?
It's not an inspection, though. So it's not in all the states we've done the compliance in. It's not treated as an inspection. It's not part of a real estate transaction. It is a pre-market evaluation. It shouldn't be considered a full inspection. It is not designed to replace a buy-side inspection. I think
Gotcha.
That's pivotal here. We are not trying to remove one side of the business and say everybody should get the homes done up front. This is for specific homes where we feel that there are repairs and renovations needed. And if those are completed, right, the homes can sell faster for more money, right, and have less deals that fall apart during that inspection and transaction process. So it's not for every home. I want to be clear on that. And it's not designed to replace buy-side inspections. It's meant to find the major issues that could, essentially blow up a deal, but also identify renovation opportunities in that home for like the kitchen, hardwood flooring, bathrooms, things like that.
Okay, so I'm glad you addressed that, because what I worry about in my mind is, sometimes people get a pre-listing inspection, buyer walks in, well, they already had an inspection, and then they move on. But does it cover everything a home inspection does, or is it more like, agents in my market, they'll bring a contractor in and they'll do a pre-market evaluation, like you called it there. They'll come in and they'll say, yeah, the roof may need to get replaced. They don't get as in-depth as a home inspector, but they're like, renovate this kitchen for 20 grand and you'll probably get 35 out of it. Dry out the basement for 15 grand and, you'll sell for 20, that kind of thing.
That's exactly right. So it's major issues and renovations that we identify. So part of the process is we actually scan the home with a Matterport scanner, not the stand-up one that takes like an hour. This is a new one you can put on a gimbal for your phone, actually create a rendering of the home. So we get a really good idea of what's going on in that home. We know the square footage of the kitchen and things like this, so we can give that seller exactly that information. Like dry out the basement, put a new kitchen in, you're going to make more money. But don't worry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, because we're going to cover the costs of that until closing. And when I say until closing, it's up until 12 months after the work is done that they have to sell that home before they have to pay anything, basically. There is no interest or fees whatsoever, and they never pay for the inspection. Like I said, it is for specific homes and specific listings. If a home's pretty new, you probably don't need this on it, right? But we would also encourage the buyers to still get an inspection, because it's not a full inspection, right? There's still maybe other things that we can find out later.
Okay. So if you don't mind, I'd love to get into some of maybe the deeper questions, because I just picture our listeners right now maybe turning up their radio a little bit, or looking at YouTube and saying, oh, well, let me pay more attention. But I want to ask a few more questions here. So I want to get back to that Matterport thing that you had mentioned here. But how much does it pay? And how is it? And to be honest, we've kind of talked about Inspectify on this show a lot, and how we don't like price fixing and, this is how much this inspection costs, and this is how much we'll pay, and they pay very low fees, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How is it different than Inspectify? What do you guys pay per inspection, and is it inspector generated, or do they get put into a pool, and all the agents in that area, when they just ask for the service, do they get just assigned the assignment and they go and do it? So I know I loaded you up with like 4 questions there.
That's good. Yeah. So let me start. It is a standardized inspection, so there is standardized pricing. It is about a 1 to 2 hour inspection in our testing, though. So it's not considered a full inspection. The other bit that's really interesting there is that in licensed states, like even Texas, we went to the Texas Real Estate Commission. We said, hey, do you have to be licensed to do this inspection? They're saying technically no, but we are using licensed inspectors and licensed trainees and people because we think it's important. That's why this business essentially could have gone outside the industry to anybody. We are bringing it back in to say that this is a tool for inspectors, and you guys are the ones that should be looking at it. With that in mind, though, for a 1 to 2 hour inspection, we're paying a flat fee at the moment of $225 per home. Okay, paid up front to the inspector. It's a lot more than like rental turn inspections and things that you see the fees get down really low. On the is it a pool of inspectors front? Yes and no. So when you go through onboarding with the program, you get a set of dedicated marketing tools. In that set of marketing tools is what's called a deep link, okay, that is tied specifically to that inspection company. We load that into a trackable QR code. The minute that an agent scans that code, they are locked into that inspection company. If they go into the app and order an inspection, from now on, it goes back to that inspection company over and over again. So it's not like we're relying on the inspectors to go out and build a business for us and then we take it away, right? It is locked to that inspection company, and that's really important to us. However, there is a captive set of agents that already use Curbio that don't have a dedicated inspector. For that, yes, we tie them through the IGO booking process for people who are in this program and say, okay, you've opted into this program, and we basically schedule directly. That's done on a round robin availability basis, the way that IGO network works for everybody else. So yeah, there's kind of 2 sides to it. But ultimately, a lot of the business, because this is a new program that is exclusive to us, will be generated by the inspector going out there to their top agents and saying, hey, put this tool in your back pocket, right? You're going to need it someday.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. So $225 for 1 to 2 hours. So when you say 1 to 2 hours, does that include report writing time, or is that just on site?
It's a very simple template. I think this will be done on site. It's not your traditional, it's preset comments and things like that. It's a 5 to 7 page report. Once people can kind of see the reports, I think they'll really understand exactly what it is. Because again, this is not necessarily the same as a full pre-listing inspection that might take 4 or 5 hours, right? It's not exhaustive. It really is to focus on getting this home ready for market.
Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty of that then. What's the difference between a full home inspection and this? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah.
Are you getting into the attic? What's that?
Yeah. So we're going to be focusing on major systems. Okay. So your HVAC, plumbing, electrical, things like that. Not necessarily investigating every crawl space for active leaks and moisture and that kind of thing. So, and it's going to vary by state and area too, what is included in the inspection, what isn't. Like I said, the best way, honestly, is we'd be happy to share like a copy of the template so people can see exactly what they include in it. And then also the thing that's outside the scope normally is focusing on renovation opportunities. But you're literally going to grade a kitchen, right? Do you think it needs upgrading? Luckily, because inspectors are experts in the marketplace, they have that knowledge uniquely. They see hundreds of homes, right? So compared to what else is out in the market, in your professional opinion, could this do with a refresh? It's questions as simple as that as well. But yeah, I think the easiest thing, in honestly, is to share a template so people can see what questions we're really asking.
Okay, so it almost sounds like a field inspection had a baby with a home inspection and a contractor evaluation, and it merged all into one, which makes sense to me. Oftentimes, as an inspector myself, we'll get asked by insurance companies or even contractors, hey, could you provide extra pictures of the kitchen, or can you provide extra pictures of the exterior? And, sometimes as a courtesy, we would do it.
Yeah.
I remember one time a contractor gave estimates off of our reports for a whole rehab. So it does kind of make sense in that regard. So, all right. The Matterport thing, does that is that something that the inspector has to invest in a camera? Or is that?
Yeah, so there is a gimbal. There's a cost. There's an onboarding fee that covers that gimbal cost, the marketing materials. We print out flyers for you with that QR code logged in. But once that setup fee's been paid, essentially, no, there's no other fees or anything. But yeah, the gimbal is a lot cheaper. Matterport cameras used to be like $1,000 or something. You
Yeah.
can now run it from your phone instead.
Okay.
So we utilize the phones that people are using. As long as you have a LiDAR-enabled phone, which most of the newer ones are, then you can run this program. And if not, personally, if I ran a company, I would probably invest in it anyway and say it's definitely worth it, because this is an exclusive product that you can kind of roll out there that nobody else is going to be seeing at this point.
Okay, because it did worry me because the Matterport thing has always looked good to the home inspection industry, but in reality, it's kind of unwieldy. To do a whole house is like a whole morning just of Matterport. But if that's just, it almost sounds like a Google 360, except better.
It's a LiDAR scan. What's really interesting here is the application and crossover between inspectors and appraisers. I don't want to get too much into, but I'm not a huge fan of appraisers, right? I think they're useless. And I did a study with the Washington Post a few years ago, like how many deals fell apart because of an appraiser who's just like abusing the Dodd-Frank Act, basically, to stop other appraisers coming into the market in the area, controlling pricing. They delay deals. So what's happening with a lot of these big wholesale mortgage companies is they are now accepting certain floor plans and things for desk appraisals, which means you don't need to send out an appraiser for the home. They've already got the information in the inspection report. They've got the information from the Matterport scan, right? What else do they need? So we'll be working with lenders as well to say, hey, if this has happened to this home, this could essentially be potentially a desk appraisal certified home, which really helps the agent. Right? It really kind of moves the process along and also reduces the cost for the buyers. Appraisals, like a year or so ago, I got charged like $900 for an appraisal of a 1,600 square foot 3-2 in Austin. That's insane. Like, that's absolutely insane. So I think there's some crossover purpose here where with using this much faster, cheaper, Matterport approach with the gimbals on the phone, you could start getting inspectors' value to be even, higher for the listing agent, essentially.
Well, interestingly enough, there's an app that a lot of insurance companies use. And the only reason I know this is my basement recently flooded. And so they use an app, and that's what they use. They measure the square footage, and it's pretty accurate. Their version of that app is terrible. Matterport has always been very accurate. I've liked Matterport. I've seen them get within 10 square foot on a 3,000 square foot house. It's pretty impressive. So, all right. So that answers the Matterport thing. And what about liability? So I walk into any home and I have liability, but it sounds like Curbio is hiring me to inspect that house. What happens if, let's talk about two different types of liability: general liability and E&O type liability. So I step on the couch to go move a curtain or something like that, something stupid, and I break their $10,000 couch. Or on the other side of things, while I was in there, I didn't notice that the basement was full of mold because I was just moving. So what kind of liability do I have in those situations?
Yeah. In the specific situations, and honestly, I'd probably have to check with our legal team on that. From what I understand, there is still an agreement signed by the seller. So whatever normal agreement that you have with a seller that limits your liability would be in place. But I'm going to have to probably check on that fully, just to say whether it's saying that Curbio is hiring you or is Curbio hiring you for the seller, and the seller has, essentially the same agreement in place that you would normally have. But I would say, as far as I know, it's the same you would have for doing a buy-side inspection.
Okay.
You'd want to maintain the same insurance, right, and have the same agreements in place.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to know that, because that's always the worry of a home inspector, is a measure of liability. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, there's an opinion out there that seller inspections have almost zero liability because you have to prove damages. Missing something on an inspection doesn't have the same weight as it does on the buyer side when you're doing it on the seller side. So this is told to me by attorneys and stuff like that. I don't know how, I'm not an attorney. So it doesn't seem like high liability anyways, but I would be interested to know that, and who we're working for. Because another thing is it's important that we distinguish it that's not part of a home inspection. Because, like, for instance, in New York, I cannot be paid by any other party except the person hiring me, which always makes it kind of awkward because agents are like, oh, hey, as a gift to my client, I'm going to pay for the inspection. I'm like, okay, well, you can reimburse them, but the check has to come from them.
Right.
And, it makes it a little awkward, but that's New York state law, just as an example.
Right.
So, but if it's not a home inspection, and I think that's kind of what you're getting at, it's not a home inspection.
It is not a home inspection. We are not using the language home inspection. We went to state boards and checked things like what the key here is it's not part of a real estate transaction. Home's not even listed yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, can we get this home ready for market? Right? We don't even know if that home's going to be listed. And just to clarify, the seller does not have to get any work done. If they decide not to do it, there's still no cost to them, right? This is literally to find out if you were going to sell this home, what do we need to be done, and here's the cost for it. And doing that Matterport lets us give that really accurate estimate, like your insurance company, right? Of saying we know how much square footage there is here and what the condition of it is, and so here's your estimate back. And the way that it's presented is not like an inspection report as well. It's through the platform with a list of things that we found, the projected cost, and the projected ROI as well to fix them. So it's a tool that we're giving to inspectors, but it's not an inspection report. It's like you've got this existing company, this skill set, right? This software, this team that you probably have some ability to scale a little bit. This is a product you can do with your existing systems.
And just something in your favor, one of the things I like about pre-listing inspections is buyer inspections are, you can't miss this important appointment because they have 2 weeks to get this done and, all this stuff happening. Seller inspections are always kind of like, can you do it next week? No? Okay. How about 2 weeks from now? Oh, I'm on vacation. Okay, well, how about a month? It's not as high pressure. So it sounds like getting prepared for the market is also not as high pressured. So probably easier to schedule these things in because they're not as much of a rush typically, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same as like I talk about Texas where you're seeing option periods still under a week, right?
Yeah, nuts.
And the deadlines move from midnight to 5 o'clock. And it's like, yeah, I mean, people are like pre-scheduling inspections before they get the contract accepted, just in case the contract gets accepted. So yeah, it's none of that. It's definitely low pressure, low temperature, like you're saying, potentially lower liability as well, because yeah, you didn't miss the thing in the basement. And we're still recommending people get buy-side inspections. What's interesting, we're thinking, this is just purely anecdotal. So we've talked to some of the IGO community members. They're telling us when they do pre-listing inspections, they get the buy-side inspection about 30 to 40% of the time, because the buyer wants to know, well, who did the first one? Because I want them to come back and check that everything got done. So can a company use this to boost not only this side of the business with this new tool, but the buy side as well? Because if I was giving out free pre-market evaluations to a listing agent, I'm going to make sure their team is sending me all the buy side inspections as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can kind of use it to earn their business. And luckily, there's a lot of crossover with agents. A lot of agents don't just specialize on listings; they'll specialize on buyers too. And that's another part of this program that's really cool. And again, it's exclusive to us. With this program, when the inspector enrolls, right, they have the ability to give pay at close repairs to their buy side clients as well. So let's say you've got an inspection back, right? We'll run it through the repair pricer process. And this is at no cost to the inspector as well. You can run it through the repair pricer process. We'll present it through the Curbio app to the buyer's agent. And let's say there's 2 things that they want to get fixed for the client. They can bring the seller's agent into that process and say, look, guys, this is what we want done. We want Curbio to do it because they do a good job and they're going to warranty it. But by the way, there's no cost to your seller until we sell. So no one's paying out of pocket for repairs whatsoever. So you've got this new pre-market evaluation piece that no one's had before. Now you have the ability to offer buy-side repairs with pay at close, no interest, no fees as well, which kind of changes the entire process for people, because normally somebody's left scrambling to find someone to fix, what's found in the inspection report, and or somebody backs out of the deal because they don't know the impact. But here we're saying not only is a repair price report available for you, the agent, but if you want to get this stuff done, if you want, no obligation, you can get that fixed with a few clicks of a button, and their team's going to manage it end to end. So when you're negotiating as an agent, typically you've got the 3 options of like reduce the price of the home, that doesn't help anybody because it doesn't put any money in the buyer's pocket. They're going to save like $4 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't make sense. The other one is have the seller fix it. Okay, who are they going to use? Cheapest person on Craigslist they can possibly find, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to warranty anything typically. And then the other option is kind of escrow funds at closing, but you've got to make sure that that matches your estimate exactly. Whereas with this option, you know what it's going to cost, so does the seller, and it gets done before closing, but it doesn't cost anybody until the proceeds basically come out of the escrow funds. So it's like another benefit to the program that we added in to say this is like the ultimate solution, especially for those inspectors that go and market to agents for business. There's a lot here they can lean on to get new business.
Okay, so that's an interesting concept, and I'm just trying to kind of wrap my brain around it because most people in my area take a credit at closing because the first two options, like you said, they don't really work out a whole lot. I'm not going to have the seller fix something. I'm not going to take a reduction in the house price. I'm usually going to take a credit at closing, like most people do. So let's say I'm buying a house and my agent says, "Oh, okay, well, we have, we need a new roof. It's $15,000." So I go back and I negotiate and say, "Well, can we get Curbio and Repair Pricer out here to give us a price on this?" So what if do you guys send out a contractor to come and do an estimate, or do you do it just based on the pictures or does the inspector come back and do another evaluation, or how does that look?
Typically, we'll do it from the pictures and build our estimates up. I mean, that's what we do. I've been doing that for like 5 years. Roofing, we're really accurate.
Okay.
Really accurate. Now, let's say we've got a retaining wall with some moisture coming out of it. We actually highlight that in our report and say there is no way we could estimate this remotely, but you want someone to come out? Yeah, we'll get somebody out for you. That's not a problem. But yeah, so it's going to depend on the item, but like 85-90% of run-of-the-mill stuff, we can estimate really accurately. And that's what Curbio's been using repair pricing for years at this point, right? Is rather than having their own team, they're like, you know what, we trust repair prices pricing, it's really accurate, and they will stand by those estimates.
Okay. So, and those are great answers. I appreciate you because I'm really grilling you here, Christian. So, I do have a couple more grilling questions. Like that seems like a lot of national resources. Are you taking it national? I know you guys are testing in Texas, right?
Yeah, so we've got it rolled out in Texas at this point. It's coming in Southern California as well, Florida and Georgia, with some of our very, very close companies that we work with them every day. We know these guys, right? They'll call our cell phone if there's an issue. But Curbio is operating today in 42 markets with more coming, okay? They've done over $100 million in repairs. I mean, they're like a big outfit that's got a bunch of resources. Their class acts, their engineering team's fantastic. We've got direct API integrations with these guys. So their ability to scale this is already there. But it is market specific at this point, basically. But yeah, like national, will we ever get outside of like NFL cities? I mean, we kind of are already, But yeah, your smaller markets, not available yet. That may change, right? We've got a lot of home inspection company partners here that are probably big enough for us to essentially almost open a market for them. We're exploring that with a few of our members already. But yeah, their ability to scale this and operate it's already there.
Okay. Well, and that was one of the things I was thinking about as you were describing the program. I'm like, man, trying to get contractors in all of those markets, and how do you vet the contractors, or how do you there's guys that you already know that you said they can call your cell phone if something's going on, but how do you you want to move into Albany, New York market hypothetically?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, if you remember, as part of this merger and acquisition that we did at IGO Repair Price, we also merged in Homebinder as well. Homebinder has been working with agents and inspectors for like a decade who've been bringing in recommended contractors. Now, there's no cost to do that whatsoever. So we already have a captive base of like pre-verified contractors as well. But Curbio has been doing the same thing for the last 6 years. So they'll go in and also pre-vet contracts. So we could make an introduction and say, hey, we have these people, but they have their own processes, very rigorous and tightly controlled to essentially get these markets spun up. And they operate like a traditional GC. but with more technology and platforms behind it. They have their own platform behind it that they run, that all their subs and vendors and everybody run through to make sure this is controlled really well end to end.
Okay. And I mean, that sounds reasonable. There's lots of national companies that do a lot of work all over for lots of different industries, including the construction industry and home remodeling industry. I mean, in my area, there's several companies that work nationally, and they just vet contractors really well. If they have a problem, they take care of it. So let me ask you how the testing is going in Texas, though. So that's where you guys have been working for about how long on this program?
Oh, what? You mean actually live with the program?
Or even any stage of testing, like, your beta version of it or live? Because
Yeah,
you're 100% live in Texas?
we're 100% live in Texas as of Thursday last week.
Oh, wow.
Basically, it's Monday today. So yeah, so I'm saying this is very much a sneak peek at this time. So we literally just started rolling clients out on Thursday. So I don't have a huge amount of full feedback on end-to-end testing. Has been done for 3 months and keeps on continuing. So on the buy side, things are already going at the moment. On the sell side, it's still scaling up. But like I said, Curbio has been doing this themselves with not with having the agent have to find an inspector to do this. So that's the process that we've essentially re-engineered as well and made it so that the agent can just find an inspector immediately and that gets scheduled. So we could maybe come back in a few months and give you a full update on, exactly the testing's been done. Testing works fantastically. Live clients though are just starting to roll in as of last Thursday.
All right, cool. Well, and that's exactly. I'm not expecting you to have a magic answer to that. It's just that the fact that you did that much testing and now you're going into live. I'm very interested to see how it turns out because it really, really is an interesting concept. The way I view it is basically you guys are paying an inspector to go in there to do an estimate for the potential of doing that work, and then you get paid at closing. There's not many small-time contracting companies that could do that. So it opens up a whole market for you guys, or I should say better, corners that market for you guys. Brings
Yeah, I mean, I
benefit.
think it's a new market for home inspectors that they've kind of been almost shut out of at
Yeah.
some point. And again, if we can like make them part of the appraisal process, I think that helps the industry as a whole. Our goal here is to help home inspection company owners grow and just bring innovative like tools and services to the market so they can grow. That's exactly what I feel like this is. We've been working on this for a long time. I wanted to do this, and I think it's going to change the way that some homes are bought and sold, hopefully, and make the inspection an integral part of that process. Like I said, Curbio could have decided to potentially go partner with contractors instead, right? But I think we convinced them that when we have highly skilled inspectors doing this, they're just going to get a better end-to-end product for their customer and a better experience, right? And I want to be clear, we are not trying to do this to replace buy-side inspections and have buy-side inspections go away. Those will always be important. And we're not trying to market this as a free inspection, right? Which I think some companies will try and do at some point. This is a pre-market evaluation that's not designed to replace that. And because I think in some markets, like you said early on, when you have pre-listing inspections, it does mitigate the buy-side business, right? And the buy-side never happens. We're not recommending that. We're saying, no, you still need to get a buy-side inspection.
And that's why I asked you for examples of the differences, because if I am a buyer and I see a pre-listing inspection, well, they already went into the north crawl space and the south crawl space, and there's pictures of the attic. They've seen all the spots. Whereas your evaluation, it's, okay, they looked at the kitchen, they upgraded the kitchen, but what about those two crawl spaces? What about, that polybutylene that's in the attic with no insulation on it? There's going to be questions that people have. So I'm just thinking about how to market it now. So home inspector, you go and you do an evaluation. You could or could not get the buyer side inspection, but very likely what I liked about pre-listing inspections is I'd almost always get that person's next purchase. Most people stay in the area, typically in most markets, like a good 70% of people. So I would get that buyer side inspection for them. So now this is just introducing me into more
That's a
more
really
clients.
good point. I hadn't really thought about it. I was thinking like getting the buy side on people that are buying the home because they see your report, right, and that kind of thing. But now, yeah, it's like you're picking up business from the agent, you're giving a new tool to, you might pick up the buyer side on the house that you've already inspected. And yeah, potentially you're getting their business on the buy side for the next home. So yeah, it could be a trifecta. You know.
Yeah, and I've always said each inspection that you do is a demonstration of your business for everybody watching, which is going to be the agents and the homeowner for the pre-listing situation. Pre-listing inspections never made up a huge portion of my market. I would love to say that pre-listing inspections were like 20% of my inspections, but it was more like probably, when it was a buyer's market, it was probably like more like 4 or 5%. Since it's been a seller's market, like 0.5%. There's never really a whole lot because there's a stigma attached. Like you said, I can't fix it. I don't want to know. Hopefully the buyer's inspector misses it, whatever their reasoning is. Now it's like, okay, they might find an old roof. They might find some mold in the basement, but they're really here doing an evaluation saying, hey, listen, if we build a new deck on the back and tear down this one that's falling apart, cost you 20 grand, but you should get 25 out of your listing price. So that makes sense to me as a marketer. I get to work with the agents. They see me more. I get to work with the potential buyer, and about 80% of them or so, 70, 80% become a buyer in that same market. So that makes sense to me. So
yeah, you think about it as well. Let's say you're doing $1,000 a year for your inspection company, right? And you do get to that 5% mark. Well, that's 10 grand in extra revenue a year, right? Even if you only get to 5%, what if it's so popular? Because we've already got people who are at the 5% mark for the pre-listing stuff with essentially a paid product that's a lot more expensive and invasive, as it were. Well, if you get to 10%, right, that's an $20,000 a year in revenue for a product that didn't exist before. And hopefully you're picking up the buy side in some aspect, whether it's from the seller or the new potential buyer. So yeah, that 5% funnily is like what we are estimating our clients to get to in the first year, 5% of their business being the pre-market evaluation.
Yeah, when I was saying 5% being pre-listing inspections, not the pre-market evaluations, but a full home inspection before going on market. So this one, basically, I kind of view it almost like a 4-point, kind of like we're going to check the big stuff, but then we're also going to, on top of the 4-point, so to speak, give you some suggestions to make your house more appealing. Get rid of that orange shag carpeting, put down some laminate flooring and things like that.
That's what our Florida inspectors have said. They're like, oh, this is a 4-point with a look at the kitchen. That's pretty much. I just don't say that because in some areas people are like, what's a 4-point? Right?
Yeah. As for people who don't know what a 4-point is, I think most inspectors do. It's definitely a southern thing, mostly Florida and parts of Georgia and Texas, but it's looking at the 4 major portions of the home and basically mechanicals and roof, and you don't really get too involved in the rest of it, but it's an insurance inspection. But that makes sense to me. Like as soon as you said that, doing a 4-point plus looking at the kitchen, that's not bad. And I imagine you get more proficient. So you say 1 to 2 hours. I mean, the average 4-point, I would imagine, is probably under an hour. And then you add the kitchen in and the report writing. So
we've got a scan Matterport. That's why we're saying 1 to 2 hours, because on the bigger homes, it's still on your phone, but you've got to go scan it. So, but that's around what we're finding in testing.
Okay. So let me ask you then, that leads me to another question. Do you get paid more for a bigger home or a duplex, or?
I think a duplex, it depends. A duplex might be 2 units. I have to check on that. A bigger home, not at this time. But again, do you get paid less for a smaller home? No.
So you're counting on it balancing out.
Yeah, it should balance out, right? And it depends on your market. Like if you happen to be in an area where there's a bunch of very, very large homes and that's what the agents are selling, maybe it's not as positive for you. But are you picking up a lot more business because of this product that's exclusive, that ties that agent to you in the app from just one scan, right? I would like to imagine yes. It's not like this is just that one product that you have. Like you were saying, it's an opportunity to demonstrate your professionalism, right? And your capabilities as an inspector or an inspection company owner to that agent, to that buyer, to win more business. So is it a sales tool? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely is a sales tool.
That's how I view it, as a sales tool. And it's one that you get paid $150 an hour for if your average inspection is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So $225 at an hour and a half is $150 an hour. So that, to be able to have that marketing tool, that wouldn't be too bad. So I imagine, like, how many a day does the average inspector do? Like, if he's loaded up, like he's like, man, I did.
Some guys that want to knock out like 6 a day, but
That
you've
seems a
got
bit much.
like 3, 4 full home inspections a day too. It's going to depend on your market, drive time, right?
Yeah.
Like population density, type of home. Is it all 1990 and on construction that's like 3-2 ranch style? Or is it going to be bigger homes that are built in 1920? Because that's going to take you a while,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's, yeah. I would say a new inspector could comfortably do 3 a day, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what,
thinking 3 or 4 max. 6 a
yeah,
day is, but I mean, I don't do 4 full home inspections a day either.
that's
I don't
fine.
even like to do 3. I just, just a
Yeah,
long day. But,
yeah.
as we keep talking about this, it reminds me almost of a HUD inspection. When you get,
Okay.
when
Is
you
that
get a
the 2
grant.
or 3 day one or?
Yeah, the 203K one.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've
But
actually not seen one of their reports, but is it pretty similar to this?
no, it's a little bit more involved, and then you keep going back. Like you're there for the life of the project. This sounds like you're there. Here's some quick improvements. Here's the cost, and we'll give you money. But the 203K loans, they're quite a bit more involved. One of the reasons I don't get involved in them is they're just a giant pain in the butt because you have to be there and go back, and then people are calling you, and it's a lot more time than it looks like. This
Yeah.
is
This is like in, out, know what you're doing, follow a simple template, and then build business from it, right? That's
yeah.
that's the goal here, and keep this inside the inspection industry.
Yep. And for me, I would view it as, like I said before, beginning paid $150 an hour to be able to market to this person is going to be moving out in the next 6 months to a year. They're going to need a home inspector and they're going to remember me. I'm going to leave them a card. They're going to be in my email drip campaign. I'm going to send them a card when they sell the house. And then this agent going to do basically the same thing because now they're going to recommend me for the next home inspection that they need because I was professional and I was good and I took care of their client. So interesting. Well, I got to say, I did grill you a little bit more than I like to grill my guests. I did warn you that I was going to ask some questions, but I did have some burning questions. But it seems like a good concept. It's very novel. It's new. I've not
Yeah,
seen anything like it. I'm trying to relate it to things, but it never really fits into what I'm trying to relate it to. So I'm
this
really
is
excited.
why I love what I do. And like I get to build things like this and try and imagine the best possible outcome and scenarios, and then go and actually build it, and then go and work with our clients when we roll it out. Like so this is super exciting for us. Like I said, I've had a great relationship with Curbio over the years. Fantastic experience. We believe in their product and what they're doing. So yeah, we're just super stoked to get this out the door, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation first before we do any marketing or push it, because I know you're going to push me on it, right? And these are the same questions that people have, but maybe they don't get the FaceTime with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they can come to our conferences and stuff, maybe, but that's not 90% of inspectors. So yeah, no, I really wanted this to have it so you can ask those questions, so people feel comfortable and say, yeah, this is a good concept. We should look at it.
Well, and I tend to be a little bit of a hard audience. Like I said, I wasn't very easy on Inspectify or, Porch, definitely not easy on them or a lot of others. But you guys are within our industry. We like what you're doing, and this concept would seem to benefit us. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. And maybe we could do a follow up at some point and say, hey, how's it going? Are there any changes or any improvements? And talk about it. But we get a couple thousand downloads a week, and I'm sure there's going to really pique the interest of a lot of inspectors out there.
Yeah, yeah, I hope
So,
so. And if anybody's interested, you can actually just go to repairpricer.com/Curbio, Curbio. Yeah.
okay.
And there's a lot more information on the program there as well. And our sales teams are already like trained up on it too. They know exactly how the program works. So yeah, if anyone has questions, they can go look there as well. But I think we did a pretty in-depth coverage today on
Yeah.
exactly how it works and how it can help home inspectors.
No, that's awesome. So, if they want to sign up for the program, Would they go to the same spot?
They go to that same spot. There is a form there to request access. Okay, so just there is a vetting process like Curbio has for contractors to make sure that if they're in a licensed state, they are a licensed inspector, and we check the software that we can automate it. So yeah, you can request access. Like I said, some areas it's not rolled out yet, but you will hear from us, and you will get an invite to do a demo on this. We also are going to start within a couple of weeks some kind of weekly webinars on this in-house, so that as we're moving inspectors through the program, they can attend those for training, or if somebody's interested, they can attend those as well and just find out more about it and ask questions. And on the flip side of it as well, we'll be doing those for agents too, because agents are going to have questions on this, right? Even those that have already been using Curbio, they're like, wait, this is something new. I can get this for free. I've been paying, or not having clients opt into a program like this because they don't want to pay. Now that we can basically allow the agents to get access to this, they're going to have these questions. So we'll be starting those in a few weeks.
Okay, so repairpricer.com/Curbio, Curbio, correct?
Correct.
Great.
Correct. So we're having a press release going out about this as well soon. So.
Nice, and we'll have a link in our transcript and in the episode description, so everybody can find it. But Christian, I'm excited. Is there anything you'd like to take us out on with the program or anything?
No, not really. I just like questions. Please let us know. If something that you think we didn't cover today, let me know. But we're happy to talk about it with everybody. Like I said, we think this is a really, really big positive opportunity for the industry to show what it can do. And Ian, thank you, man, like always, for having me on. I appreciate the hard questions.
Yeah, no, thank you for answering them. You did a great job, and thank you for being on the show again.
Thanks so much.
Talk soon.